last game in this patch.
Yeah, we're gonna jump right back in actually to that gameplay. Let's go.
Nice.
So we've got Miggy Hustler now on the Lee Sin Zoe, and Sneak still trying to get a win with Ashe LeBlanc. The Frostbites do fantastically against Lee Sin from OTKing you, but the early Zoe here, you know, generating those super cool star charts, stuns are also something that's going to shut down Ashe LeBlanc quite heavily.
Right. So we're not 100% sure if this is game 3 or game 2. But, like we just saw, Deep had won the round before, so Deep is now out. He is now forced to play the secondary deck, which is always a solid choice. Anytime you see Zoe in a deck, I'm happy, so.
Zoe fan, are you? Yeah, Zoe Lee Sin's definitely be making a splash here. Zoe is just a fantastic unit for shoring up your early game. The ability for her to generate those cards like Crescent Strike and Equinox to help out against your opponent's win conditions. Or sometimes just generating a Serpent, an extra body to block, goes a really long way for a combo deck like this that needs to survive against more aggressive strategies.
It'd be interesting again to watch this Ashe LeBlanc deck take the entire game here. We only got to see a little portion of it, kind of where that game was already settled in. So I'm excited to see how this ends up going here. Just have an interesting choice here.
The Serpent off of super cool star chart is just enough to maybe clear this Glory Seeker. I think Sneak would be incentivized to protect this here, as it is the only thing right now in hand that can answer Zoe. This is a card that you really can't let snowball. And actually goes for Troll Chant. Doesn't go for the Elixir of Iron. Perhaps playing around Pale Cascade. But regardless, the super cool star chart is still generated, and that's going to be very important. Even if Zoe goes down, she's gotten some immense value here just by generating a couple cards of this nature. Ashe now on curve with the attack token for Sneak, combined with the Glory Seeker, means you get a free pull there.
Yeah, and he still is holding on to 1 mana now, so he not pulling the trigger on Elixir of Iron allows him to at least have that as a backup plan, depending on what Miggy ends up playing here.
The Elixir of Iron is a very clutch card. Like, having 2 mana open, your opponent's always going to be playing around Troll Chant. It is definitely much easier to have the 1 mana open to threaten your opponent with the Elixir of Iron or a Brittle Steel, which I'm glad is starting to make its way back into these Frostbite lists. So Miggy just casts the star chart, looks for another option. Maybe looking for an Equinox, you just protect Zoe from getting pulled and just let her carry you further through the mid game. No other developments alongside this unit, however.
It doesn't do anything else, so he could have played a unit, assuming he had one, which could have, essentially taken Ashe's freeze. Instead, saves the mana and goes for the Concussive Palm, which, that's a pretty much auto save against this deck. There's not a whole lot they can do about a Concussive Palm. Also stops one of the 5 damage strikes, so currently his last words are still costing 4 right now.
Yeah, the Concussive Palm, fantastic. Another Serpent being generated. This is going to be huge. The ability for Zoe being protected, right? Every time you put resources down to try to kill her and she lives, you're just falling further and further behind. You're getting baited into this trap of worrying about Zoe, but there's still a Lee Sin to worry about at the top end. So once again, protecting the Glory Seeker. I need this Challenger unit to get Zoe off the board. Right now, even just with a few turns past, she's 3 out of 10. And you'll be surprised.
That takes Sneak to 3 out of 4 as well for reputation. So
yes. And you'll be surprised at how quickly Zoe will level up. But Whispered Words getting put online here in the next round is going to be enormous, because Sneak needs to get some extra resources and some extra threats down to capitalize on this deck's oppressive mid-game over this combo deck.
Absolutely. Definitely needs to take care of Zoe. And, if Lee Sin comes down, even as Zoe is just causing this distraction, Lee Sin is still leveling within Miggy's deck just by playing spells, super cool star charts, etc. So he does need to handle Zoe and then have enough tools at the end to also be able to handle Lee Sin, which is no small task.
Yeah, even though Frostbite is a great way to counter Lee Sin and his Dragon Kick, with cards like Bastion to put a spell shield on Lee Sin. It's forcing you to have multiple frostbites, which becomes very expensive, very draining on your resources. So here it is, star chart number 3, coming off of Zoe. The Serpent's been the best choice every time, but if you can invoke something else, this is going to be another tick on the Zoe. Look at this. No more Challenger unit, no more threat. So
it doesn't have any answer to that currently. I mean, you know, he could just play a 4 mana, draw 2 if he wants, but he's so close to making that a 2 mana, which is, you know, very enticing.
Goes for the attack here. The Tail of the Dragon will absorb the Frostbite. Everything else is pretty favorable trades. From this position, now that the Glory Seeker has been silenced, it can block now, but you would rather just cash it in to get that final stack of reputation. Maybe a 2 mana Whispered Words to get a Culling Strike can finish this Zoe off before things get too dire. She's currently halfway towards that level up.
The trigger on the attack. Saving the Icevale Archer, I suppose, for defense.
Your lesson begins.
Yeah, it just keeps the mana open. I think perhaps playing towards, again, the Whispered Words into Culling Strike, or maybe just double Whispered Words. Just reload and try to put more pressure on when the next attack comes around. Because even though Sneak isn't able to answer Zoe, Miggy Hustler hasn't been able to answer Ashe, and she's also slowly ticking up.
Yeah, both are can definitely find themselves in positions to end games. So it is interesting that they're both just ticking up, and you know they're kind of having this little fight where each champion's staying on the board and slowly leveling. So
yeah, even Eye of the Dragon being cashed in here, I think definitely shows that despite everything, Sneak is still applying a lot of pressure.
Yeah, great point. I mean, if he's not stopping that 5 damage, getting that trade there, he is going to end up taking a full 10. And, you know, we obviously know Zoe Lee can heal a lot, but it's not ideal to be taking that much damage only on turn 6. Decides to switch it to the Omen Hawk, though.
Makes the call, says these Dragonlings will carry. If you and maybe it's a long-term strat. If you're wasting Frostbites on the Dragonlings to get rid of your opponent's lifesteal, then that's just going to be less resources to answer Lee Sin.
Now we see these Whispered Words turning into actual cards that will have value. You're right, Scarzig. He decides to cast both, and he has lots of tools now.
A Yeti coming down as well. Great way to make use of this last smidgen of mana that's available. But now we have the forbidden combo. Mentor of the Stones, Sparklefly, along with the Dragonling, is going to offset a lot of that damage that just came through in the last round.
I have not heard the forbidden combo yet, but I am now going to say that from here on out. For sure.
And Mentor of the Stones, this card is so strong in Lee Sin because it gives you an effect when you support, but because it has a last breath, you also get value when your opponent trades into it or even prevents it from supporting in the first place. You want the gems. This is going to be so clutch. Looking at the hand total, however, there's going to be just enough hand space, it looks like, for the gems and the super cool star chart. Sneak considering a harsh wins here, I think. You deny the strike from the Zoe to deny the star chart. She's still getting closer and closer, 7 out of 10. And then you deny the lifesteal from the Sparklefly. If Zoe, theoretically, you could level her here. We haven't seen Pale Cascade yet. We haven't seen Guiding Touch yet. Once the gems get added to the hand, that's going to be another card for Zoe. Even if you stop her from striking, it's very likely she's going to level up. Maybe you take the damage, try to go for Reckoning into against Deny from this position.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, he has a lot of options. He could be thinking, all right, I want to stop the super cool star chart to stop the possible Zoe level up, but I also have my opponent's Nexus down to 5, and allowing the strike heals him back up to 10. So, I mean, it was significant. He could have went for the, at least to slow down the healing a little bit, but decides to just take it, save his mana, and then pass, which is interesting. Trying to see if he'll bait out any mana. If he gets below 4, the Reckoning is free to go, but it's super risky to just play that now into Deny. But like you said, if that's kind of where the match is going to come down to, he might end up just pulling the trigger on that.
there's a weird mind game happening here. Sneak is passing because he says Miggy Hustler wants to cast more cards this round in order to get the Zoe level up. If you go for the Reckoning and Miggy Hustler doesn't have the deny, there's always maybe the option that you just put a bunch of cards on the stack to level up Zoe before she gets wiped. Once you meet that condition, you get to keep that effect going into the rest of the game. So with the Ice Veil Archer coming through, that too will die to the Reckoning. It is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it allows him to, you know, play a card without passing, possibly wasting the rest of his mana. Now, his decision will come down to, if he does pass here again, he could just end up playing the Avaros and Hearthguard just to actually take up his mana so he can move with more aggression. But you're right. I mean, this is definitely becoming a passing... We just saw this before. So these two players are really, you know, showcasing how powerful the pass mechanic is in Runeterra.
Letting your opponent make the first move, maybe overextending into this Reckoning. Like if Miggy says, okay, I want to double down, triple down on this healing, go for Mountain Goat, go for second Eye of the Dragon, it makes this such a juicy card. Depending on Miggy Hustler's hand, right, if you're getting very nervous about there not being a Lee Sin, but here's the trigger, still 4 mana up for deny.
He goes for it, and the deny is there, and it also flips Zoe in the meantime.
Absolute tragedy, absolute disaster. Miggy Hustler got to heal that turn, got to flip Zoe that turn, and now AoE lifesteal coming off of the Dragonling. Oh, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be very tough. We do still have the attack from Ashe. There's a weird, now that Ashe is 3 out of 5, we could see just flat. Oh my goodness, what? Flash Freeze, Troll Chant, and an attack to take away 3 blockers and just try to get a big swing through from this position.
Yeah, he could end up just going for that and trying to take it there.
Actually, hang on a second. I'm sorry. Harsh Winds, Frostbite's 2 units, the Goat, and then the Sparkle Fly. Then Troll Chant takes 2 attack away from Zoe or the Eye of the Dragon. And then when Ashe attacks, it Frostbite's a 4th. So you can actually take away 4 blockers here potentially and go for a big open swing.
And you know, there's not much you can do about that. Looks like he's gonna go for it, and this is 1 blocker will be available, and then on top of that, he needs to have something in his hand to stop this. He could be looking at another concussive palm, which we saw one earlier, and you know, he's gonna need answers. He's gonna need healing. He's gonna need guiding touches because he has a lot of damage coming here. I mean, 2 5-attack units, 2 4-attack units, and Ashe at 6. That's a ton of damage.
It's close. And again, you got to remember, even though Troll Chant isn't a Frostbite, you can still use it to take a unit down to 0 attack, and that's all that matters for Asher's passive. Here it is, and the open attack is locked in. There's only Zoe to block.
18, so he leaves just Zoe. Wants to get Zoe off the board. Makes sense. Elusive to attack.
18 damage being threatened here. Because this is a burst speed action into the open attack, there's no room to cast those gems. Bastion, just to give 1 attack to the Dragonling.
Yeah, it'll block 5 damage and heal 1 back.
Hi, Zoe, what's your name?
Now it'll block 6 damage and heal 1 back.
Exact lethal being presented. 4 mana left. Is that a concussive palm?
He needs concussive, he needs guiding touch, he needs something. But all of this being done at burst speed allows him, you know, no reaction time for gems or anything along those lines.
The Ashe Frostbite combo coming in clutch here. And there's the Shen emote. Sneak manages to just barely get in before absolute disaster strikes.
That was a wild game right there, for sure. You saw no concussive palm after playing it the turn before, no healing from anything like guiding touch, and he ends up getting exact lethal at that moment. That is quite an impressive win from an Ashe LeBlanc deck.
And we talked about it. Zoe was still alive on the board, but Ashe was just still alive, getting tons of value as well.